Hi everyone, today I'm going to talk about pragmatics. Pragmatics is the most important part in linguistics. Pragmatics is the study of how people understand the language in context. Is the use of linguistics in signs, sentences, and votes in actual situations, of course, in situations that are in the same context. Pragmatics it goes beyond the semantically or the literal meaning of things. It considers how meanings are constructed and focusing in the implemented meaning. It considers what other people mean when they use the language and how to communicate and understand each other. Probably you have used pragmatics at some point and you didn't even notice. Probably because you don't know what is the definition of pragmatics, but you have probably used it. For example, the expression of "Can you give me a hand?" in the literal meaning is giving you someone your own hand, but in the grammatical meaning it means can you help me to do something. And with this you use pragmatics because you already know the meaning behind that expression, and you don't actually give your hand to someone else. And if someone actually gave you their own hand, then they are crazy and they don't know what pragmatics is, or they stole someone else's hand. Mm-hmm. Here are some other examples for you to understand better how pragmatic is formed and how to understand it.
Yeah, that was really funny. Hey man, what is it that want to buy some cigarettes? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
In this situation, pragmatics is applying. The literal meaning is my father went to buy cigarettes, but the actual meaning is sadder. It means my father abandoned us. Yes. It's sad, but it's a good way to explain the use of pragmatics in this situation. You may ask, why didn't he say my father abandoned us instead of saying my father went to buy some cigarettes? Well, there is another thing about pragmatics. Pragmatics makes you ask why, and it forces you to think beyond the normal meaning of things. Now, to forget the sad part of pragmatics, let's go with a lovely example. You know what? I heart you. Yeah?
Yeah.
Now, the literal meaning of heart, it refers to an organ of our body that pumps blood and keeps us alive. However, in pragmatics, heart is also related to love. So saying you know I heard you is means you know I love you to someone that you actually have an affection to. So that's another example of pragmatics. Another example of pragmatics is when teachers or someone else tells you thank you for sharing. And these words are commonly used when you say something that is not too related to the topic that you were talking about, and someone says thank you for sharing, and you may think that they are grateful that you talked, but they are not. They are actually in a pragmatical way telling you, okay, it wasn't important, but it's already there, so it doesn't matter. Uh, in this part of pragmatics, it focuses on the context and the situation. When something is said, so it's really important to focus in the situations when someone is talking to understand the meaning and the context. Now, As we were able to see with the past examples, pragmatics focuses on the use of language in particular situations. It explains the elements and the influence of both literal and non-literal meaning in communication. As Ralph W. Fasold said, pragmatic concerns both the relationships between context of the use and the sentence meaning, and the relationships among the meaning, context of use, and the speaker's meaning. Now, with all that we saw before of pragmatics, how it's used, the expressions, I have a question for you. Should teachers be teaching about pragmatics to non-native speakers and native speakers? In my opinion, the answer is yes, because students need to know there is not always the literal meaning. There is always other type of meaning behind what people say. So it's a really good way to make them improve their knowledge, to think way creative and not focus just on one thing by changing and thinking more creatively. I think the use of pragmatics is something that must be learned, and it's not something that teachers don't give enough attention, and something that is not taught in a lot of schools. And I didn't even knew that there was such a word as pragmatics, but now that I learned about it and figure out some examples, I realized that I was actually using it, but I didn't notice, and I realized that there are some other ways of introducing pragmatics. The example, the way that I was using it, it was based on sarcasm to people, which is a way to practice pragmatics. The study of pragmatics and the meaning of it is convenient for some people that are not well developed and they don't understand the meanings behind words or phrases. So it will be really convenient for them to learn. As for normal basic students and daily basis students, pragmatics should be implemented to them for them to gain more knowledge, more ways to learn, and more interactive, and who knows, maybe they can get their own pragmatics examples at some point.